Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about the best international ETFs. ETFs, as you probably know, stand for exchange traded funds, and they are one of the best options if you want to diversify your portfolio of investments and invest in different economic sectors or in different countries. Before we get to the list of the best international ETFs, let's analyze some of the advantages of investing in international ETFs as opposed to the most popular ETFs which track US economic sectors and US indices. So, here are some of the advantages of investing in international ETFs. The first potential advantage of investing in an international ETF is when the country is currently at a better economic moment than the US. Even if this is not the case for the majority of countries, sometimes you can achieve better gains investing in a specific country during a specific time frame. The second potential advantage of investing in an international ETF is diversification. If you invest in an international ETF, there will be two ways in which you'll be diversifying your portfolio. First of all, you will be much more exposed to a specific market. Even though, for example, if you buy shares of Microsoft is present in most countries, but if you have an international ETF, shares from this specific ETF, you'll be much more exposed to this specific country. By buying one ETF share, your portfolio will be exposed to a number of companies in this given country. International ETFs also have the advantage that they are one of the easiest ways to invest in a specific country. Let's say you live in Canada and you want to invest in Ireland. You have to find a broker which has access to the Irish market and at the same time allows Canadian citizens to invest with them. But if you buy an ETF that tracks the Irish market, you will not have to open a new broker account, you will not have to buy different stocks in the Irish market, thus making the whole process much cheaper and much simpler. The next advantage of buying an international ETF is most ETFs have a very low share price. If you're just starting to invest abroad, and let's say you want to buy 5 different stocks from a specific market, the share prices and the costs you will have when you buy stocks from 5 individual companies is likely to be much higher than when you buy shares from an ETF covering that market. And the last advantage of investing in international ETFs is, in many cases, investing through an international ETF will be the only option you will have to access that market. Some of the restrictions you might find when you are trying to invest in a foreign market are: you might not be able to find a broker that accepts citizens or residents of your country of origin. The costs involved in the operation might be way too high for the investment to be worth it. And finally, the language barrier. You might find a broker or a bank that will accept your investment, but the lack of services and support in English might affect the quality of your investments. So that's it. Now let's analyze some of the best international ETFs currently available on US markets. The first ETF in this list is the iShares MSCI Denmark ETF. As the name says, that's an ETF based on Danish stocks. I believe the economy of Denmark has a lot of potential. The country has a low population, but with a very high average wealth, and many Danish companies have been extremely successful when expanding their operations abroad. The total return for this ETF during the past 5 years, including dividends, has been of 74.37%, which I consider great for any ETF. Now let's take a look at the main positions on this ETF. The largest position in this ETF is Novo Nordisk, which is a pharmaceutical company based out of Denmark, and it has a pretty significant weight on this ETF. The second company in this ETF by the number of shares is Vestas Wind Systems. Vestas is one of the biggest companies in the world in the wind turbine market. The third company in this ETF is Ørsted, which is also focused on renewable energy and offshore wind power. The next ETF you may want to consider is the iShares MSCI New Zealand ETF, ticker symbol ENZL. Similarly to Denmark, New Zealand also has a low population, highly educated and pretty wealthy as well. The performance of this ETF is quite impressive. Its value rose 116% with dividends included. In fact, this New Zealand ETF outperformed the SP 500 during the past 5 years. Let's take a look at the main stock holdings of this ETF. Fisher & Paykel Healthcare manufacture a number of products for respiratory care, acute care, and they are present in 120 countries. Then we have the A2 Milk Company, which is both present in Australia and in New Zealand, and also some Kiwi utility companies. The next ETF is the EWY, iShares MSCI South Korea ETF. South Korea, as you probably know, is one of the best countries in the world when it comes to manufacturing. Apart from some important multinationals, South Korea also has some pretty robust companies serving the domestic market. The total return for this ETF during the past 5 years is 44.72%, which is a little bit less than the other ETFs we have discussed so far. Some of the most significant holdings in this ETF are Samsung, Naver, LG, Hyundai, and Kakao, which are all pretty relevant in the international markets in their sectors. The next ETF on the list is the iShares MSCI Taiwan ETF. Taiwan is not only one of my favorite countries for its safety, weather, and overall infrastructure, but it is also one of the best places to invest. The country is the headquarters of some of the most important information technology industries in the world, especially when it comes to semiconductors. The performance of this ETF is quite amazing. During the past 5 years, the total return of this ETF was of 93.8%, including dividends. Some of the main stock positions of this ETF are the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, which is also listed in the New York Stock Exchange, then MediaTek, which also manufactures chips and other important information technology companies. The last ETF in this video is the iShares MSCI Switzerland ETF, ticker EWL. Switzerland is one of the wealthiest economies in Europe. It ranks high on the Ease of Doing Business Index and has a number of important multinationals based in the country. The 5-year total return performance for this ETF with dividends included was of 50.99%. Among the most important stock holdings on this ETF we have international brands like Nestlé, Roche, Novartis, Zurich Insurance and UBS. I expect Switzerland to grow faster than its neighbors in the European Union, which the country is not part of. Do you have any other ETF you'd like to suggest? Please comment below. If you like this video and you want to travel, move or invest abroad, please subscribe. See you next time.